Hi, Patrick Russell, EA, coming to you from mmtaxman.com studios. In today's episode, we're going to be spotlighting the issues surrounding landlords and how landlords are coping in a post-COVID-19 world. Specifically, we're going to be talking about where we are as in a country in terms of eviction moratoriums and what recourses are available right now. We will reveal several types of business expenses landlords should be on the lookout for. We will also touch on speculation as to what the federal government may do to ease the pain of the landlords before the end of the year. We live in emotional times, people. Everybody's making sacrifices. Everybody's feeling the pain of the shutdowns. Landlords are no different. They are shouldering a significant weight of the negative economic effects of COVID-19. But everybody still has a family to provide for. Everyone still has bills that must be paid. In today's episode, I wanted to bring a fresh perspective. Today, I'm happy to introduce a friend of the show, Mr. Ernie Sarasota. Ernie is an attorney from Orlando, Florida. I met Ernie at a timeshare weekend event several years back. Not only is Ernie an attorney, but he's a very active real estate investor himself. He owns several residential multi-unit properties in some of the lower income areas of Florida. Although many have come to see the word slumlord as a derisive term, not to Ernie. He thrives in conflict. He relishes the confrontation. He doesn't mind harassing your grandmother should she be just one day late on the rent. Ernie's a guy that doesn't believe in free lunches. A disciple of free enterprise? You bet. A little cutthroat? Maybe. You be the judge. Today, through the virtual conferencing connection, I'm able to bring to you Ernie from his own office in Florida. He specializes in landlord complaints and unlawful detainers, the name of the lawsuit that you give when you're trying to evict a tenant. Although I'm not quite sure how many properties Ernie owns, by the way he talks, you get the impression that it's quite a few. But just like our esteemed president, Ernie's taken a page right out of Trump's playbook and is very guarded as to the actual size of his portfolio. But I do enjoy picking Ernie's brain. Ernie provides a very honest point of view from the landlord's side of the dilemma. Talking to Ernie makes me understand better the true motives and real aim of my other clients, who are themselves property owners of rental properties. Hello, Ernie. Can you hear me? Let me know we're coming through okay on your side. Hey, yo, Susan. Is he on? Is the camera connected? Okay. Pat, my man. I know I told you that I had 12 minutes. Cut that. It's a busy day, bro. I got something hot coming down the pipeline unexpected. You got 6. Give it to me, baby. What do you got? Ernie, you're looking great, my man. I'm glad to see that you're doing well. And I also see that our last conversation about remote consulting made an impression. Your setup looks terrific. It almost feels like we're in the same room. Pat, I took your advice, Pat. Got the camera out of the bathroom. Wasn't doing me any good in there anyway. Susan took a corner of our lobby and turned it into a virtual conference area. Kind of like what you got. Ernie, buddy, I'm gonna just jump right into it. My first question, my biggest question, are you collecting any rent from those tenants who have told you that they've lost their job because of the COVID-19 pandemic? Are you providing any type of relief for those out-of-work tenants who, now more than ever, could use the hand of a good Samaritan? What say you, buddy? Pat, that's a stupid question, Pat. First and foremost, you know I'm getting mine, Pat. Is COVID-19 gonna start paying for my wife's addiction to handbags? Is COVID-19 gonna start paying for my kids' private school tuition? Is COVID-19 gonna be paying for my many houses? I don't think so, Pat. Everybody's got problems, Pat. Everybody's got a song to sing. I'm not the one. Either you have my rent on the first or the very next day, you're gonna be getting that 3-day pay or quit. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I do know what you're saying, Ernie. Many landlords, just like you, are pressuring tenants to pay the full rent or partial, even in cases where the landlord received inarguable evidence that nobody in the home was employed or had a job since the shutdowns began. Frequently, we're hearing stories of landlords pretending as if everything was business as usual, expecting financially destroyed families with no source of income, with the unemployment check being delayed, with the economic stimulus check being lost, with regular refunds not being processed in a timely manner, once again because the IRS itself shut down processing centers for fear of the spread of the COVID-19 virus. All of these circumstances have been well documented. Regardless, how many, shall we say, callous landlords are pressing forward with aggressive collection tactics? But Ernie, clarify something for me. Doesn't the eviction moratoriums prevent you from taking any eviction action? I thought the tenants were completely safe until the state's moratoriums ended. For instance, the California eviction moratorium was set to expire on July 28th, with Arizona's moratorium scheduled even sooner to end on July 23rd. I thought that was the whole intention of the moratoriums in the first place, was to give the tenants some peace of mind while we all struggle through this existential threat. No? Pat, that's why you gotta know the game like I do, Pat. The man says that you can't process evictions through the courts. They never said anything about the landlord getting the paperwork started. I've got about 6 unlawful detainers sitting at that county clerk's office right now, just waiting for that clock to strike midnight, if you know what I mean. If Uncle Sam doesn't step in quick before that moratorium ends, guys like me are just gonna be cleaning up. I see. Ernie, you know I love you, and I love chatting with you, but I gotta say, I'm a little concerned by your strong-arm tactics. I'm concerned about where does your tenant go after they get evicted, and I'm concerned that landlords like yourself are foolishly convincing themselves that finding a better tenant is simply a matter of kicking the old tenant out. I'm concerned that this delicate balance between securing our public health and stabilizing the economy are not being blended with a healthy dose of compassion, sensibility, and empathy for your fellow man. I mean, we are all in this together, are we not, Ernie? And isn't that the problem with the country, Pat? Everybody's concerned with everybody else's business. I've got an idea. How about you be concerned with yours and let me be concerned with mine? Everybody's got an opinion, and now that opinion is supposed to affect the way I live. It's supposed to affect the way I run my business. That's not the America I came to love, and that's not the America I believe the founding fathers had in mind. Who's to say I can't find a tenant that does have a job and is able to pay the rent that I'm demanding? Who's to say that I can't sell my property and want to clean the property of all of the deadbeat tenants before I did so? Who's to say that I can't just kick everybody out so that I can renovate and have a much nicer property available when the day COVID-19 ends? It's gonna end, right, Pat? The sun will come out again, right, Pat? And I'm gonna be there waiting to score when it does. Who's to say that I'm not able to do this? I'm not gonna argue with you, Ernie. You're right about one thing. You do have the right to do whatever you want with your property. I'm just always hopeful that people throw in a little humanity when they're making decisions that affect other humans. But I digress. I want to switch topics and ask you about your day-to-day. I have a lot of other clients just like you, rental property owners, and they want to know what expenses should they be paying closer attention to this year with COVID-19 and a bunch of other extra duties that landlords must shoulder. What are some expenses that you yourself have seen increased in 2020? Tell me. Pat, Without question, COVID-19 has made me look at my mileage log a whole lot more often. I'm spending a whole lot more time in my car, going to and from the rental houses. Oh, you don't have my rent? No problem. Going to the courthouse? Oh, the handyman's sick? No problem. Driving to the Home Depot? Going back to the rental houses? Oh, another tenant can't pay me my rent? No problem. You get what I'm saying here. You throw in 1, maybe 2 weekly ownership meetings at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and you got yourself a whole lot of mileage that you're able to deduct. Capiche? You got legal expenses. I can't tell you how many court fees and filing fees I've had to pay in the last 3 or 4 months, but it's well worth it. Now, the one thing that you can't take a deduction for, I found out this the hard way. You remember this, Pat? Can't take a deduction for the value of my time. Can you believe that? Ernie, we've talked about this many times. I know you're still bitter about that exam, but we both researched this item very closely. And this is a very clear concept that appears many times in various federal tax guidelines and resources. The tax rules and regulations on this matter are crystal clear. A rental property owner cannot take a deduction for the value of their time. I know that's a heartbreak for some of my clients. I have several clients who have retired and now have taken on being full-time property managers as a full-time gig. Those particular clients who consider themselves real estate professionals have a real hard time with this concept. However, there is no ambiguity. If it turns out that one of the deductions on your tax return happens to be for the value of your own time managing your properties, you will be losing that deduction. Ernie, turning your focus to the future, what are your thoughts on any possible federal assistance for landlords between now and the end of the year? With the losses sure to be incurred by many rental property owners like yourself. Ernie, are you worried in any way, buddy? Pat, you already know only our Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior, knows the future. We're common men, and by that we gotta live by either the good book or the lessons of our pappy. And my pappy used to say, Ernie, you gotta earn it. You gotta earn it, Ernie. And those are the words that I've lived by, and those are the words that I expect my tenants to live by too. Ernie, thank you for digging deep and sharing with us those timeless words of your pappy. But tell me, aren't you even a little bit concerned in any way about the losses you're likely to take on your rental properties? Aren't you worried in the least that your lifestyle could be affected by the negative economic consequences surrounding COVID-19? You don't gotta worry about me, Pat. President Trump's already taking care of big fat cat landlords like myself. Sure, there might be some extra special credit coming down the line at the end of the year, something based on tenants that you allowed to stay even though they weren't paying rent. Sure, there might be a special deduction allowed even against property taxes that might be available depending on what tenancies were affected by COVID-19. Both of these ideas are being kicked around at the Treasury. No official word yet, and it won't even matter. Why? Because those things are just small icings on the cake. The big enchilada was already snuck in under everybody's nose. In the middle of that $2 trillion world-class example of pork barreling, our beloved President Trump snuck in a provision allowing fat cat landlords like myself, no matter how much income we bring in a given year, to now be able to use our manufactured paper losses that we develop from our rental property activities and use those losses to eliminate all our federal taxes for the given year. Is that all? No. If we still have excess losses after we're done there, President Trump also said you can go back 2 years and use those losses against those tax liabilities and get some more money even from the past. Now tell me, do we have anything to worry about with this administration? No, Ernie. I don't think fat cats like yourself have anything to worry about with this administration. It's the rest of the country that needs to worry. All right, let's turn to something else. Ernie, you have a lot of experience and you have a lot of wisdom in the real estate world. Tell me, is there any pearls of wisdom that you can leave with me and my clients before we let you go? Is there anything that you could tell us that could help us in our endeavors to be a better property owner and manager? Pat, even if I had all afternoon, that still wouldn't be enough time for me to tell you everything that you still need to learn about life. Capiche? My pappy used to say, Ernie, you gotta earn it. But he also used to say, Ernie, keep good records. My last piece of advice to you and yours, Patty, make sure your clients understand those bank statements are now digital, automated, and are here with us forever. Meaning that those bank statements, bank trails, bank transactions, they better be supporting the story that the tax return is telling. Capiche? Hold on one second. Speak of the devil. Pat, I'm gonna have to let you go. This is a phone call that I need to take. I'll be talking to you soon, buddy. Be well. Hello? Donnie, how you doing, buddy? Mar-a-Lago this weekend? Sure, why not? Well, thank you, Ernie. Looks like we lost him, but I think we got what we could out of him for today. Ernie is just a representation of the many landlords out there in the United States who feel justified in practicing those aggressive landlord-tenant relations, stressing their own financial woes and believing that their single economic survival is paramount over actual physical survival of all of their tenants. Ernie did briefly mention two expenses that are likely to increase for landlords in 2020. He mentioned travel and legal expenses. Specifically, he talked about the mileage. But there are a few extra expenses landlords should be mindful of. The golden rule is always any dollar and every dollar spent. In the performance, managing, operating, running, or sustaining their rental operation will be a viable write-off against the rent income reported. It's hard for me to sit here and tell you a specific category that you pay for throughout the year on your rental properties and to say there isn't a place for it as a deduction on your tax return. Dealing with 99% of the costs out there, the answer will be yes, there is a place where you can deduct it. Examples of other items to be on the watch for: meetings. This can include conversations with associates, partners, or professionals in the industries. Without question, a critical component of being a landlord today is to stay on top of the recent changes involved with the real estate market. This is one of those industries where you're constantly learning, so the costs involved with that learning should also be deducted every year on your tax return. Things like postage, processing for services, parking fees, and don't forget whatever cost was necessary for you to refurbish, remodel, or restart and repair your property to get it rented again, to include advertising, both paper and online resources. Any fees regarding your need to find another tenant, to include those travel expenses, they must be accounted for. How important are receipts and bank statements? It used to be where you could cry foul on your mileage log and simply reconstruct it from your memory. A working mileage log that you had put together prior to your examination. Although I'm not going to suggest that reconstruction of records is still not possible. It is. But in my mind, when things get lost and forgotten, you can't remember them when you need to. Paper gets lost and destroyed. The issue is the technology and the tools available exist today which are making your record keeping so much easier. Agents are less likely to accept lost records due to the duration of time as a valid excuse. The moral to that story is now more than ever, it is vital for you to get into the habit of contemporaneously, meaning day to day, posting and maintaining your records. This will also increase the weight and the validity of those records because you're going to have so much of them that now it should be a priority for you as a landlord to make sure that you maintain these records and not throw them to the side and neglect them as an afterthought chore. With your hefty records, that will be leverage in an examination. I can't stress to you enough how auditors will disregard your claims that your dog ate your homework. Those days are finally over. You need to act accordingly. We want to thank again Ernie the attorney for spending some time with us. We're now going to segue to our click that exit button movie of the day. Returning back to Netflix and their vast catalog of great movies, just okay movies, and straight dog poop movies too. And speaking of steamy pile of dog poop, I'm spotlighting today, click that exit button, movie of the day, The Lovebirds. This comedy had all the makings of a hit. The movie stars two exploding stars in Kunal Nanjiani and Issa Rae. Both are hot commodities coming off of solid TV efforts from HBO. Kunal with HBO's Silicon Valley, and Issa with her own HBO's Insecure. But just like stocks where past success is not indicative of future performance, I didn't last too long through this sorry effort. I just saw enough to be underwhelmed by the comedic effort of both of the stars. With clear social and political fault lines established in the movie, I was expecting a plethora of biting social commentary, making us all laugh and ponder at the same time. Ponder what? Pondering our part we all play in the social injustices prevailing in our times. None of that happened. So, consequently, I clicked the exit button before I could dive any deeper into this supposedly humorous murder mystery of whodunit. Save the time and effort. You'll be glad that you did. In today's Song of the Day, I returned back to my original roots, those Apple playlists, and I discovered real quickly an ear-catching melody from a relative newcomer. I'm talking about Charlie Puth, and I'm talking about his current dance ballad, Girlfriend. Charlie Puth, he's a young guy that if I had to make a comparison with prior stars, I would say that Charlie represents the combination and cross-pollination of Prince and George Michael. It's as if Prince and George Michael's musical talents made love and that offspring was the perfect dance musician. Say hello to their musical talent creation, Charlie Puth. Girlfriend. Girlfriend is a pure sample of an electric and pop dancing number that puts that groove into your step and lets you know that it's okay to either dance with unearned confidence in the shower or shoulder rocking in the privacy of your own car. This song is pure fun with light lyrics that spotlight love in its most carefree and light version of itself. Girlfriend, worth a listen. In today's book of the day, I'm going back to my classics, and no other book has been a staple in my personal library more than this book I'm about to mention. When I was in my late teens, I went through that season of where I was seeking answers. I wanted to pick the brains of successful individuals and find out their secret of well-being. Well, I'm still looking, but at least I feel like I'm on the right path. Well, during that season of self-exploration, I read all the greats. Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, Stephen Covey, Zig Ziglar, and Tony Robbins, who I believe wrote the only self-help book you're ever going to need to read, Unlimited Power. I've had this book in my collection for over 30 years. It never gets old, and it never stops being right. Tony spent his life trying to answer the question, what makes successful people successful? He came up with the term modeling. Now, there's a lot of fancy words out there that clinically label what Tony is talking about, the most notable being NPL, neural processing language. But in simple terms, Tony teaches us how our emotional state of mind can be controlled. You can control when you're happy. You can control when you're excited. You can control when you feel powerful. And you can control when you feel creative. Tony tries to impress into us that we have unlimited power over our own feelings, and on any given moment, by taking control of our emotional state, you can control how productive you are, how creative you are, how committed you are to any life goal you set for yourself. Tony's prose is clear and concise. You're never wasting your time on some pointless salesman's success story. Every page has plenty of meat on the bone. If you're looking for a book that will firmly place you in the right state of mind to accomplish whatever goals you have in your path, this is the book you want. As always, if you have any specific questions, please feel free to email me at patrick@mmtaxman.com. We're currently in the process of working on our next episode. We're going to continue on our journey through the life of a landlord. We will be touching on a very nuanced subject for a landlord, the concept that has many gray areas. Repairs versus capital improvements. Which is which? We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for the time.